Good morning. Thank you for being here today. My name is Amy Winder Newton. I'm a senior advisor to Governor Cox and director of the Office of Families. As you know, Utah is a leader in protecting children from the harmful effects of social media. In fact, we have some of our legislators here who worked with us on the social media legislation, Senator Mike McKell and Senator Kurt Cullimore. Welcome. Back in October, when the governor was speaking at his monthly news conference, he talked about how we would be doing a social media campaign to help educate parents on the harmful effects of social media on their children. So today we're here to talk about why that's so important and needed, and then to introduce our campaign. So we'll start by introducing Governor Spencer Cox.
Thank you, Amy, for your leadership on this very important issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Capitol this morning, this rainy August morning. It's great to see all of you. I too, want to pay tribute and give my utmost gratitude to the legislature who worked so hard on this bill. Senator Cullimore, Senator McKell, thank you for your leadership. We care about our kids in Utah, and I know that's true across the nation. This is a huge issue that continues to grow. It is not a conservative issue. It is not a liberal issue. It's an American issue. It's a parent issue, and it's been so refreshing to see so many legislators, so many members of Congress, so many members of the administration reach out to us, to Utah, looking for advice and leadership. I've heard from Democratic senators and Republican senators in the U.S. Senate, members of the House, and several governors across the country who care deeply about this issue. The data is very clear, and it's incredibly sobering. We know that only 37% of Utah youth got at least 8 hours of sleep on an average school night. We know that 32% of Utah youth feel sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more in a row during the past year. We know that 18% of youth seriously considered suicide in 2021. We know that mental illness in teens has increased between 50% and 150% from 2009 to 2019, looking at the different data sets. We know that 1 in 3 U.S. high school students and half of female students have persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness, which is a 40% increase since 2009. We know that the rates of major depression doubled for boys and girls from 2010 to 2020. And we know that emergency room visits for self-harm by children and adolescents has risen sharply over the past decade, again, particularly amongst our young women. And we recognize that social media isn't the only cause of these disturbing trends, but with the research that continues to come out, there is not just a causal link, a correlation link, but that there is a causal link showing that social media is a major contributor to these terrible rises in mental illness. Now, although age 13 is the minimum age requirement established by social media platforms in the United States, it is unregulated. And we know that close to 40% of children ages 8 through 12 use social media regularly. We recently conducted some research to understand the perceptions of Utah parents and the way they look at social media. Our findings, I think, were very relevant. It shows that 76% of Utah children use social media in some capacity, and over 50% of Utah kids ages 7 to 17 use social media for 1 to 3 hours per day, many using it more than 3 hours per day. Our research tells us that Utah parents are deeply concerned about their children's mental health, body image, brain development, and sleep patterns. In fact, 88% of Utah parents believe social media has a detrimental impact on the mental health and well-being of children and youth. In this environment, it's hard to know what to do. Parents are certainly struggling, but we know we have to do something. And so I appreciate the experts that have come together to join us on this effort. We've worked, as I mentioned, with legislators who have signed the toughest social media regulation in the country. Our administration has worked with Attorney General Sean Reyes to take legal action against TikTok, and we anticipate more legal action in the future. And we're very excited today to unveil a new public education campaign to help parents and young people better understand the harms of social media and how to navigate and clear those harms. Now, I want to just be very clear before I turn it over to Amy. There have been reports by a very, by the way, it's hard to get 88% of people to agree about anything these days, including the color of the sky. But to see such broad agreement on this issue, I think is very important. There are a very, very, very few naysayers out there, some of which who have completely lied to all of you and said that the state of Utah is trying to take over the role of parents. That could not be further from the truth. What we're trying to do is empower parents, give parents the tools that they need to actually raise their kids. We do believe that parents should be raising their kids and not social media companies. And that is what is happening right now. And we hear from, and I also hear this criticism of parents that if parents just did a better job, this wouldn't be a problem. Usually by people who aren't parents or who are not parenting right now. And what I can say to that is that it is incredibly difficult as a parent of a 16-year-old daughter. This is the challenge of our time. We don't let our daughter have social media. And the pressure is enormous. We hear from other parents that we would love to be able to do that, but when everyone has it, when everyone has access to it all of the time, it just makes it that much more difficult. And even those parents who are doing everything right have seen incredible damage happen. Kids are very resourceful, we understand that, and are able to find ways around it. But this matters, and what we're hoping to do is again to empower parents. That's the piece of this. We appreciate the legislature setting aside some funds for this public relations campaign that will really help all of us understand just how damaging and dangerous this is. So with that, we're excited to roll out this campaign, and I'm going to turn the time over to Amy Winder Newton.
Thanks, Governor. We appreciate you being such a champion for our kids. So this campaign was done in partnership with the governor's office, but also with the Department of Health and Human Services. We have Executive Director Tracy Gruber here, and the Department of Commerce. We have Executive Director Margaret Bussey here. So we appreciate the partnership with these three departments. We're going to begin by showing you our TV ad. So this is the 30-second spot. We'll start with that now.
Social media shows people living their best lives, but it also hides potential harms for our children.
You're so fat, it's disgusting.
Get some self-respect.
No surprise she has no friends.
You're pathetic.
And though they may put on a brave face, it might be masking unbearable pain. Social media shows people living their best lives, but it also hides potential harms for our children.
Epic fail. No wonder you have no friends.
Oh my gosh, I know where he lives.
He's got a punchable face.
This is so cringe.
And though they may put on a brave face, it might be masking unbearable pain.
Kind of heavy. We'll let that sit for a minute. This campaign is going to help our parents understand what's behind these masks that these kids are wearing. We've got billboards, we've got display ads. There's some things for you to take a look at here. All of this information is downloadable on the website socialharms.utah.gov. So feel free to take a look there. The ads will begin running today. It will go till next spring. And if you have any questions, we're happy to take questions.
Filed a motion to compel against TikTok. Litigation. Are you going?
We are, yeah. So that is ongoing. We've met recently with the Attorney General and his team as they are working to compile data and evidence that can be used. That is part of the ongoing litigation with TikTok to compel them to answer those inquiries. And so yes, that is still moving forward, and you'll see more in the future. I can't share more than what's out in the public right now, but stay tuned.
You're the state's leader in chief, basically. What about your own social media habits?
Yeah, I've talked a lot about that. I'm certainly spending less time on social media platforms, and it's again, I think it's important to note we're not trying to completely remove social media from our kids' lives. We're trying to teach them healthy habits. We are trying to, and part of the legislation that was passed, we're trying to force social media companies to remove the most addictive features when it comes to kids' accounts. I would love a kid's account. In fact, I mentioned I do have a burner account, and I've said that very publicly, not so I can say mean things about the media and nice things about Governor Cox. I don't post from it, but I do it because that's where I find a lot of information. That's where I read many of your stories that you post, and so being able to do that in a way that is less addictive, where I just follow some media people in the state and I can read the stories that I need to read, is helping me with my own time. So I spend less time on social media as well. One of the things that I think is powerful about these campaign ads, again, these are kids, but you could flip roles. You could have the parents wearing those masks, and we know that this is damaging not just to kids, but for all of us, but especially kids. What we know is kids going through puberty. That's the most dangerous time, and as brain development is happening. And so we're hopeful that with these kids accounts, and turning off those, again, the most harmful pieces, the algorithms, the most addictive pieces, that our young people will learn good social media behavior, healthy social media behavior. It is an amazing tool, right, that allows us to connect with our friends and family all across the world and communicate in ways we've never been done. Social media has the potential to be incredibly positive. We all thought it was going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to us as a society, and it turns out it's been the exact opposite. And so I think if we can all learn better habits, then our society will be in a better place. Yeah, sure. Do you want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
I'll talk about that. So we received 500,000 in one-time funds from the legislature on this, and then the Department of Commerce has an education fund for purposes like this that we received 750,000 from.
So is this designed to basically tell people don't use social media?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So we're wanting to put the power in the hands of the parents. We want to empower them, but they need to know how dangerous this is. I don't know that. I mean, I'm a parent of young adult children. I don't know that I fully understand what they've dealt with on social media either. But we need parents to understand that this is something that their kids are struggling with. But the biggest thing that we want to is to emphasize human connection. You see at the end of the video, the parent taking the phone, putting the arm around the child. We want to emphasize human connection as a piece of that we all should do a better job putting our phones down and connecting with each other.
Yeah, I would just add that, again, on the website and the materials that this directs you to, there will be tips for families on there, how to manage this better using, again, the latest science and research from across the world. And it is, as Amy said, it really is about human connection. We're wired for connection, and sadly, we've been getting away from that. It's interesting, the research around the mental illness that we're seeing and social media. There are two pieces to it. The one is, of course, social media and the abuse, the overuse of social media, and not just that, but it's not just being on there too long, but it's what they're seeing on there as well. And so that's part of it. But the other part of it is that it's replacing a lack of a physical connection. being in the same room with people, unsupervised play, and all of those things matter too. So it's not just this, but what are we replacing this with? And hopefully that's more family dinners. Hopefully that's more time with your friends, out screwing around and having fun and getting in trouble. All of those things are actually really important to our human growth, and so we will share those tips, kind of best practices with families when it's appropriate to use, how it's appropriate to use, how parents can engage with their kids to understand and have that communication, know what they're saying, so that when they do run into something deeply problematic, as every kid does at some point on social media, they're willing to talk to their parent about it, and you can get some help and deal with it.
In your court filing against TikTok, you cited the Surgeon General report. And you
Yeah.
quote part of it saying, it says social media can harm the mental health and well-being of children and adolescents. But this also ignores the first half of that sentence. It says, the current body of evidence indicates that while social media may have benefit for some children and adolescents. How do you square those two things?
Sure. Well, I think, as I just mentioned, it does have some benefits. I think it's a very powerful tool to help us connect when used in the right way, and that's what the legislation is attempting to do. It's just that. Again, I want to be very clear. We could have said no social media for anyone under 18. Period. That's definitely one way to approach this. We decided not to do that because we do believe that there are potential benefits for kids engaging in healthy ways with social media. One of the important parts of the legislation that we passed is that you only on the kids' accounts you only connect with the people that you want to connect with. So we can't have random people talking to our kids on those new accounts. So again, there is a healthy piece to this, as the Surgeon General mentioned. He and I have had this conversation, and but again, he is deeply concerned and very, very supportive and interested in what we're doing here in Utah. Any other questions? All right. Well, as was mentioned, we have lots of materials back there. I hope you'll get a chance to look at those. Amy, I'll let you have the last word.
Thank you. We also have the masks here if anybody wants to hold one up and get a picture with it. They're a little creepy. So anyway, but thank you again for being here. We appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and take one-on-one questions if you have any still. Thanks.